Hey Sam, it's Cayleigh Griffin, sideline reporter for the Houston Rockets. In the middle of getting ready for game night, Rockets-Cavs later on this evening should be an interesting one. The Cavs without Darius Garland and Kevin Porter Jr.'s first meeting with the team, so a lot to get to. Hopefully we will have a good game. So I see that you are wanting to know my favorite things about each new rookie that we drafted and our thoughts on the second half of the season. So I would say that the first half of the season probably pretty much went as we expected. There wasn't a lot coming in. We weren't looking at this team as a playoff contender. It was part of the start of the rebuild, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw some bright spots with the young players, and that's obviously a very good thing because that's the future of this team. So let's go through the rookies here. We'll start with Usman Garuba, who we obviously haven't seen a ton of, and it's unfortunate that he broke his wrist and he's going to be out for about 8 weeks. So I don't know if we'll see him again this season, at least with the Rockets. He maybe will go back to the Vipers, and I think pretty much what we expected from him. I don't think there was an expectation that he was going to be playing with the Rockets. He's known as a defensive stopper, a defensive player, but he still is adjusting to the NBA and the speed of the game and really needs to work on the offensive side of things. So I think pretty much what we expected from Usman. He hasn't been around a ton because he spent a lot of time with the Vipers, so I haven't really gotten to know him that much. But I'm excited to see his progression. And as we've seen throughout the league many times in the G League, that's where these players develop. We saw it with KJ Martin and Kevin Porter Jr. last year, and even Josh Christopher going down for a few weeks. He had an opportunity to just play and get better, and that's so important. I had that when I was in San Antonio. DeJounte Murray, my first year, spent almost the entire season with the Austin Spurs, and look where he is now. So I think there's a lot to be said about developing in the G League. Then we got Josh Christopher, who Coach Silas has said many times he never expected him to be in the playing group right now, so he has exceeded everyone's expectations. He has been phenomenal, and I can truly say that almost no one works as hard as Josh Christopher. He is always in the gym, he is studying film, he is trying to get better, and he's 20 years old, so he has plenty of time to do that, but he's showing that how dedicated he is to his craft, and he is one of the sweetest kids, I want to say. He's just he's such an easy person to work with, and he's been a privilege to get to know him as well. Alperen Şengün, I mean, such a surprise, right? There was a lot of expectations when you saw his tape, and you're like, wow, this guy can be really good. But he is definitely a steal in the draft. Just got picked to the Rising Stars game, which is amazing. I don't think anyone anticipated that right off the bat, and he still has a lot of things to work on. He needs to condition himself to be better prepared to play in an NBA game physically in terms of running up and down the court and being able to stay on the floor. He's doing a lot better with the fouls, and that's something that Coach Silas really wanted him to work on. But it's going to be more conditioning and just getting up to speed. And defensively, obviously, he's going to need to be an anchor. So we've got to get him prepared to be that. And again, he's 19, so it's all going to come. And then Jalen Green, another selection in the Rising Stars game. So exciting. And I talked to Coach Silas today, and he said what's really cool about Jalen is that he hears the negativity of people saying he's not as good as the number 2 pick and he's not shooting the ball well. And then when it came down to the selection, the coaches making the selection, they all agreed that Jalen Green should be in that game. So Jalen has a lot of confidence in himself, and he is learning how to block out the noise. Again, 19 years old. He is still adjusting to the NBA game, and we've seen flashes of greatness and then flashes of being a 19-year-old. So it's all part of the growth process. His athleticism is out of this world, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. Thoughts on the second half of the season? Well, I guess let's get through the trade deadline and see what happens. I really have no idea what's going to happen, but it feels like the Rockets could be busy and trying to make a move. And then it's kind of just keep pushing, keep having these guys develop, play them as much as you can. I want this team to continue to develop a defensive identity because it's going to be so important, and they go through really hot offensive streaks, which has led to wins most of the time, but defensively, they haven't really figured out who they are, and I think part of it is because they're playing so many young players, so it'll be interesting to see, but I think that's a point of focus for the team in this second half of the season, and I'm curious and hopeful to see an improvement on the defensive end because it's a huge part of winning games is that side of the ball, so I hope that helps and is a good recap of my thoughts on everything so far. I hope you have a wonderful day, and go Rockets!